The horror genre of video games is probably the most bloated and saturated genre in gaming nowadays, alongside first-person shooter games and action-adventure games. You can find thousands and thousands of horror games on Steam, itch.io, Roblox, and even the Epic Games Store. Amongst the AAA horror games, there's also the hidden indie games, and right between those two are underrated horror games made by a fairly big developing team, but just haven't been given the recognition they deserve. But have you heard of a horror game made by a company that also makes movies and TV shows? Well, I hadn't either, except for a couple days ago. I was bored looking for some games to play and stumbled onto the Epic Games free game page and found a game that was being offered for free for a limited time called Maid of Sker. I decided to add it to my library with the intention of one day playing it. Until today, only an underwhelming 2 days after I added Maid of Sker to my library, I decided to download it and play it. I booted it up and started playing. Now, let me say, it's a great game. I finished it in under 3 hours, and here's my critique. A simple Resident Evil-esque horror game with a mechanic that makes sure you don't breathe. 10 out of 10, end of the video. No, but seriously, this game is great, and throughout this video, I will be bringing you through the plot of the game while showing my own gameplay along with my own narration that will hopefully put you into the shoes of the main character of this game. At the end, I will explain to you why I think this game deserves more recognition, while also giving it an unbiased opinion and sharing with you its highs and its saddening lows. But without further ado, lay down, get comfy, maybe grab some snacks, and immerse yourself into the story. Game opens up with you on a train, reading a letter from your girlfriend Elizabeth. Elizabeth decided to go help her family out by being a maid at her family-owned and run hotel, Sker Hotel. In the letter, Elizabeth explains that during her time at the hotel, something isn't quite right with her family, and they've been acting weird. She believes her father used her mother and is trying to use her for some dark and twisted reason. And when she declines to help, she gets locked in the hotel, which is why she sends the letter to you, Thomas Evans, asking you for help. Elizabeth says you must play a song that's scattered across 4 music pages that once played will act as a counter to the song contained in Elizabeth's mother's locket that you have possession of. You have no idea what this whole music nonsense is about, but you trust Elizabeth and you decide to go to Sker Hotel. As you leave the train, you start to enter into an unknown forest, guided by nothing but signs and old decorations leading you to the front gate of the hotel. You approach the gate and you quickly find out it's locked. But behind the locked gate, you hear singing, beautiful singing, clearly coming from the hotel. Since the gate is locked, you have no choice but to go around the path located beside the gate. You go along the path and slowly start to make your way through, constantly hearing the singing your whole way until you come across something glowing in a lake. You go to see what the glowing essence really is, but it quickly disappears and flies into the sky. The dog looks at you, barks, and runs away. You continue your way through the path until you end up right on the other side of the locked gate. You've reached the hotel, a beautiful sight, especially paired with the ethereal singing. You start to head towards the door and enter the building. As you enter, you are immediately welcomed by blood on the floor, accompanied by the dark, dusty, and cold interior. Something's not right. You push forward and hear a phone ringing. You answer the phone.
Thomas! My Thomas! You do not know how wonderful it is to hear your voice. I'm safe upstairs, but I cannot leave the attic. I've had to lock and bar the door, hide away from the others. I do not have the words or heart to voice it. It is far too terrible to recount. Please be careful, my love. This place is no longer safe. My father and uncle, the staff, they have been beguiled by the darkness that inhabits this place. They are no longer themselves, but stalk these halls, attacking anyone that makes a sound. I prayed that you received it, hoped that you would come. I know my request must have seemed strange, and I fear it was all for naught, that everything has changed now. Please, Thomas, listen carefully. Together we can put a stop to all of this. My father made recordings on brass cylinders of a song, a strange melody that affects the mind. If all of the cylinders are played together on the harmonium, this madness will end. You need to find them and bring them to me.
Now, with a clear objective, you start searching around the hotel. After looking around for a bit, you eventually hear someone yelling.
Who's there? Who are you? Henry! Henry Hughes. You must get me out. Hurry! We must get this door open. Why do you think? They're clearly rogues. They're trying to kidnap me. Please, hurry. Do something. What? No! No, don't leave me! They might return any minute. Oh, do something! I can't break it down from my side. Good. Good. Try again. Harder, man! Throw yourself into it! Wait. No. They're coming. Oh, God, please, no! No, don't do this! Whatever you want,
With a looming threat now present, you decide to continue searching, quickly trying to get your way around. You enter a room, dimly lit, and you manage to find an elevator. You try to turn it on, and you quickly flick the breaker and return to the elevator. You head down to the basement, and as you're searching, you hear crying. You decide to get as far away from whatever that is. You continue searching the basement, and a phone rings again. You head towards the sound, and once again, it's Elizabeth.
I'm here. There was someone else in the attic outside the door, but I think they've gone now. I don't. But you must look to yourself first, Thomas. If you should be caught too... They seem to be drawn to sound. You must remain quiet. Dear God, that's horrific. I dread to think of you being snatched like that too. Our one hope of helping him, helping all of them, is finding the cylinders. But why? What do you think is wrong with them? I knew noise attracted them, but what happened to their faces? Please, take the utmost care. And if I don't answer, it means I've had to hide, that they've come back.
Now with the possibility of something coming for Elizabeth, you hurry, trying to get out of the basement as soon as possible. You find yourself inside the wall, scurrying like a rat. You have to move. Elizabeth is in trouble. Keep quiet. Breathe. He can't see you. A bell rings, and the monster runs away. You're lucky. You find yourself in a vent, eventually leading to the boiler room. You leave the boiler room and find yourself a door locked by a simple flick of a switch. You unlock the door and head upstairs. You're outside. You hear rustling in the bushes, then see it. The same thing that attacked you in the wall. You need to get past it. You start walking past him, crouching and holding your breath so as not to be heard by him. You successfully make it through. You continue walking, making sure to keep quiet. Eventually, you run into a graveyard where you find the grave of Elizabeth's mother. You awaken, damaged, and with a nice gift stuck in your arm. As you travel through the catacomb-like halls, you find a letter regarding a cult. As you continue walking, an ethereal singing can be heard, the same as you heard at the lake. As you approach, you can see it locked in a cage, and as you get closer, it once again disappears. As you continue through, you eventually find yourself in an old mine shaft. You press a button, move a minecart that's in your way, and you continue moving forward, until you find yourself stuck with two of those monsters walking around, listening, searching. You notice there's switches, ones that will unlock a door that will lead to your escape. But you notice that one of the monsters is guarding one of the switches. You need to distract him away. You find a button in the center of the room, one that pushes a minecart from one side of the room to the next. Which eventually crashes into wood, making a large noise which attracts the monsters. You flick the switches and run to the now unlocked door and make your escape. Once exiting the elevator, you find yourself in a chapel of sorts, one with a door that's locked by some mechanism. You pull the levers on either side of the door unlocks. You emerge back outside. You've entered the gardens of Hotel Sker. You follow the path and hear a familiar crying, paired with the ethereal singing again.
Please! I beg of you! No! No, don't do this! I'll give you anything! You can have it all!
You run, trying to get away from whatever you witnessed. You see the dog again and follow her through the door. Tall, green, well-kept bushes. You walk, following their path. You end up encountering once again another obstacle. More monsters are lurking in the gardens, blocking your way of getting back to the hotel. You slowly start to make your way through, your heart's beating. You're scared and confused. But with enough patience and precision, you make it to the stairs past all the monsters. But of course, there's one more. You easily sneak past them and find yourself in a room. The phone rings again.
Thomas! Yes, I'm fine. But I feared the worst had happened. You were gone so long. I dreaded that you'd been taken too. Oh! That must be Calliope, my late mother's dog. I'd so hoped she was safe. I had good reason to suspect that my uncle had disposed of her. My God. Dear Lord, have mercy. What are they trying to do? That poor wretched soul. You must be on your guard, Thomas. You can't let them catch you. It is so good to hear your voice again.
You continue forth and run into something of a makeshift lab, one that contains a device. The device stuns the monsters, allowing for your escape. You run away and manage to find yourself in a big field, one that has a locked gate. The gate leads to one of the entrances of the hotel. You once again carefully make your way through the field, pressing the switches. And eventually making it through the gate, where you run to the door. You find yourself in the theater, and suddenly you sneak around the monster, grabbing the key from the chest, and make your way out of the theater. You find yourself once again back in the halls of the hotel's first floor. Your goal, get to Elizabeth in the attic. You travel through the halls, eventually reaching the door to the lobby, only to realize it's now filled with monsters walking around looking for you. You make your way across the hall and open a door with your newly found key. Inside the room is a projector. One that once played shows all 4 locations of the cylinders you need to escape, according to Elizabeth. You decide to continue searching the hotel, unlocking the previously locked doors with your new key. You enter a room, and on a desk lies a beer tap that belongs to a bar line you remember seeing when you first arrived at the hotel. You decide to head to the beer taps, and after a while of quietly maneuvering around the hotel and sneaking past all the monsters, you eventually make it to the beer taps. You place your beer tap in the missing section and pull the taps in a specific order based on a note that you had found earlier. Pulling the taps in this order opens up a hidden passage behind a statue that leads to a ladder which brings you up to the first floor. You emerge from the ladder and find yourself once again hearing a phone ring.
Yes, I'm still here. Oh, hopefully you'll be able to find a way up to me now. But please be wary on the first floor. I know that my father and uncle devised all manner of dangers. Watch your step. I've not heard anything outside this door for a good while now, but I can still hear them searching around the other rooms. It's mainly guest rooms on that floor. The library too, and my father's snug. I'm not sure. Perhaps the library. Take care, my Thomas. Once we have all the cylinders, we can end this. I'm certain you'll find them here in the hotel.
With the goal still being to find Elizabeth, while also collecting all the cylinders, you make yourself to the center of the room, where you find a replica of the hotel, surrounded by metal crests, each with a missing piece. You must find all the pieces. You start searching the long, dark halls of the first floor, eventually stumbling upon a boat, one that plays a tune of different bells. If you press the corresponding bells on the wall next to the boat in the right order, it unlocks, granting you your first piece of the crest. You continue searching, eventually finding yourself a crank wheel, one which you end up using in another room. You twist the wheel, which opens up a path for you. You hear crying. The button opened the door to the room, allowing you to get another piece of the crest, but also letting out another monster for you to avoid. With the second piece obtained, you make yourself back to the replica hotel, where you place your crest pieces in their respective positions. Then once again, the phone rings.
I know. And to my shame, the truth cuts me to the core. Had I known that my father and uncle had created such vile tortures, such ways to murder. There is an elevator. More of my father's tinkering and engineering. But he made a complex lock, which requires 4 parts of our family crest to open.
You continue your search for the last 2 pieces. You enter a room. A piece of the crest is just hanging on a string. You grab it and... the walls start caving in. You have no choice but to start searching the compartments. You find a crank. You place on the door and quickly make your escape before the room crushes you alive. Though you almost didn't make it, you also now have a 3rd piece. Only 1 more to go. You keep your search going, eventually finding yourself in the hotel's library. Inside is, of course, more monsters you need to get around. Scattered around the library are 2 switches that need to be activated. You slowly make your way through the library, flicking both switches and being careful as to not alert the monsters. When both switches are activated, they open up a box in the middle of the library, and inside lies the final piece. With the final piece acquired, you make your way back to the center of the 1st floor, where you slot in the final 2 crests, and once done, open the locked gates, but not without making a loud noise, alerting all surrounding monsters. You make it to the elevator in time and head upstairs. You've made it to the next floor, and the first thing you hear is the phone.
Thomas? Thomas? My uncle Abraham might be on the 2nd floor now. No, but I heard somebody crashing around a few moments ago from somewhere below me. There is a way up to the attic, through my father's rooms in the west wing. You should be able to reach me that way. My uncle was not a man to be trifled with before, and now I am not sure he's a man at all. He's a brute, Thomas. I pray you be careful. Please take care, Thomas.
Now being on the 2nd floor, you're only 1 floor away from the attic where Elizabeth is. You decide to start heading to the west wing like she said. You start walking down a hallway. You realize this key is what will unlock the west wing and allow yourself to get to Elizabeth in the attic. Of course, the uncle has it. You continue searching around, being cautious so that you don't run into... You run away. He's chasing you. You keep going and eventually find yourself into a room that has a fountain in the center. You have to move quickly. There's levers on each side that you pull. Once pulled, they open up a locked gate, allowing you to run and try to get even further away from him. Running away, you find yourself in a big room, one with a switch that starts some sort of timer. You lead the uncle into the room, and once the timer goes off, it stuns him. You continue doing this until he falls to his knees, stunned and in pain, which allows you to take the key off of him. The phone rings again.
Yes, I'm still here. I thought you were... Something just... What was that? What happened? I could hear the sound of... Wait. I thought I heard something here. Somebody is trying the door, Thomas. I must go. No! No, stop! Stop! Let go of me! Let me go! You get off!
You start rushing to the west wing, trying to get to Elizabeth as quickly as possible. The uncle is already up, even more angry, and he's coming for you. You quickly make your way up the stairs and into the attic. He doesn't follow you? You've made it. Finally, after all you've been through, the only thing left between you and Elizabeth is one more puzzle. You play 5 notes on the piano in a specific order based on the paintings in the room. Once done, a secret door opens, allowing you to see Elizabeth. She's singing? Elizabeth? wake up, back to square one. Back down in the basement. You're hurt, and the only device you had to fight off those monsters is broken. Yet, you can't give up. You need to save Elizabeth. You once again make your way through the halls of the basement, except something is different this time. The monsters are everywhere, and they're searching for you. You sneak past the monsters, slowly making your way through the dimly lit and seemingly unfamiliar halls. You once again find yourself back into the boiler room, and back to the door that first led you outside. You are now able to make a run for it, trying to escape this god-awful place. You run past the enemies, too afraid to stick around too long. You make it into a cave, which turns out to be a secret passage that leads you back into the hotel. You climb the ladder. You emerge to find yourself in a room with what appears to be a big metal cage, one that has 4 switches connected to it. In the connecting room to the birdcage is a button, one that once activated must do something. Music starts to play.
Thomas, can you hear? You must stay still when Father's not playing.
You start to flick the switches, only moving while the music is playing. It's some sort of twisted musical chairs. Once all the switches have been flicked, you head back to the button and press it. This button activates and opens the door to the birdcage. Inside is a mechanism, one that has a slot. A slot the perfect size for Elizabeth's mother's locket, the one you've been carrying with you the whole time. You place the locket inside. Doing so emits a sound that finally puts a stop to the father.
Thomas, my love, come to me. I'm waiting for you by the grand
He
harmonium.
drops a key, the crown key. Before meeting up with Elizabeth, you need to get to the final music sheet. You've collected the other 3 throughout your journey, but now lies the final sheet which will allow you to play the counter song that can stop all of this. By inserting the key into a statue, it unlocks a secret room where next to a dead body is the music sheet. You finally decide to meet up with Elizabeth.
Thomas! My love! You're safe. I had to flee the attic. I've been hiding from them ever since. But we must hurry. Do you have the cylinders?
Elizabeth is acting strange. She seems too eager to use the cylinders, even though we were only supposed to play the counter song. You decline to give Elizabeth the cylinders.
We shall end all this madness and disharmony and gain control of the siren's song for ourselves. Bring order to them. What are you doing? No! Thomas, you don't understand. We must... What am I doing? The counter song, yes. We need to end this. End all this misery and suffering. To free this thing and my family from this curse. In the light, new harmony was found. Old chains were broken, and in the aftermath of the song's end, a new one began.
Now that's it. That's the ending. That's Maid of Sker. I want to address something. Admittedly, I went through the plot very fast, but that's only because I want to encourage you all to try the game out for yourself and immerse yourself even deeper into the world this game built. With that being said, let's get into my final critique of Maid of Sker. Let's start off with the bad. For one, I believe the gameplay loop is way too repetitive, and frankly it becomes stale after about the first hour and a half of gameplay, which is disappointing because the game has really interesting and unique mechanic of having you need to hold your breath so that the enemies can't hear you. It adds so much suspense and anxiety while you're playing. It just sadly gets so easy to deal with and handle when the game goes on because there's no variety in the encounters. Besides the section with the uncle chasing you and the father's boss fight, if you can even call it that, because of the lack of variety, I started getting bored of the game and had to take multiple breaks, even though the game is clearly designed to be played in one sitting, considering I beat it in under 3 hours. If the game was any longer, with the exact same copy and paste mechanics, I don't believe the game would be considered very fun in my eyes. Another thing that made me feel iffy about this game was the entire section with the uncle on the second floor. He's constantly chasing you. Without fail. He knows where you are no matter what, even if you run away and hold your breath, so it completely eliminates any safety you have, which in a sense is a cool thing, it's a cool mechanic, but it gets really annoying when you're trying to figure out where to go to progress and you're constantly having to run around because the uncle is only a few seconds behind you, and once he catches you, it's an instant game over and you have to restart. Now, even though it seems that I'm hating on the game, there are actually a lot of highlights in the game for me. So let me just go ahead and say this straight up. The game is beautiful. It looks gorgeous. Even the locations of the game that are supposed to be dirty and grungy just look so good. The art and sound direction of this game really elevate it for me. The game is very clearly inspired by the Resident Evil games, which I noticed off rip. With this type of game, there tends to be a lot of back and forth between areas. After you get a new key, you have to go back to the previous area, unlock new doors, get new items to progress the story further. Now, some people might hate having to run back and forth, and instead want a more linear experience where they don't have to backtrack constantly. If that's the case for you, I don't think I would recommend trying this game. I would also like to say, I love how when you first come back to the hotel after escaping the gardens, everything's changed. There's more blood on the floors, enemies are now walking around, they're looking for you, they're searching. It adds a fear factor to the area that you once thought to be safe. I also really liked how, for the whole game, you're in the hotel / on the hotel grounds. Except for when you're in the mine shafts, of course, but if you ignore that, the rest of the game is contained in this huge hotel, and it really makes you feel like you're trapped. You can't leave until the task at hand is completed. It's just you and the messed up family and coworkers trying to kill you. I love it. With all this taken into consideration, I believe Maid of Sker is a game that should have more recognition. It's not the perfect game, don't get me wrong, but I think it deserves more attention. Because at the time of writing this, the game only has 1,500 reviews total on Steam, which is crazy because I've personally played objectively much worse horror games that have 2, 5, 10 times the amount of reviews. If you're bored one day and just want a horror game to play to take up an evening or an afternoon for 3 hours, I highly recommend this game. It's just overall a good game, and for my final review, I would give Maid of Sker a strong 7 out of 10. It's not bad, but it's not amazing. It has its flaws, but it's short and sweet. So, if you ever want to, try it out. Thank you everyone for watching this video. My name is Qanator, and if you made it to the end, I really appreciate it. This is a different type of video for me, so thanks for sticking around. If you enjoyed it, I would appreciate if you considered subscribing and possibly liking the video. I hope you all have a wonderful day, night, evening, whatever time it is for you. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.